what's up? So I'm doing another video. I'm like hella tired. I've been working on cars all day, but I've been like kind of slacking on making videos. So I think I'm gonna probably make one or two tonight, but we'll see. But this one, I gotta wake up. This one basically is about something that's pretty dope. It's the whole idea of you being able to like use your words. Kind of like when you're gonna like use your words, but this a little bit different. Um, how you speak to a woman is like huge. You know what I'm saying? Like you can utilize that. Cats call it like having a mouthpiece, but I don't know. I just say just it's just how you speak to a woman. You know what I'm saying? Using your words. That's what I call it. But you can totally like use your words to. I mean, just you can melt a woman with the words that you say to her, that you speak to her. How you use them, the way you say them, all of that. I mean, I think that's one of the areas in Mackin where there's like it's like full of nuances. You know what I'm saying? It's like nuance upon nuance. And you can personalize it depending upon who you are and what you went to and how people know you to be. I like to write. Ever since I was a kid, I've liked to read, and then as I got a little bit older, I started writing. And then reading again, and then writing. But I've always been into words, so that's like one of the things that you can kind of factor in. You know, utilizing words to affect women in a good way too. I mean, you just use words that people never even heard of, sometimes, or you use a word in a context that someone's never really thought to use it in. And it's kind of like fun, it's just like creative writing, but instead of writing it, obviously you're speaking it. Um, I just like for my thing, I think about stuff like I just in my mind I try to think of what can I say to basically, to melt a woman, you know what I'm saying? Or like, my thing just makes me think of not literally but figuratively, like you want to set a woman on fire with your words, you know what I'm saying, to the point where she just overwhelmed with emotion, you know what I'm saying, and feeling desire and all that stuff, but that's one of the things you can utilize to affect a woman to a very high degree emotionally. And it's also something you could use that can really make a woman drawn to you, even when she don't want to be. You say something to her and she just is like, oh, she can't help it. You know what I'm saying? I've been there before. I mean, I could totally speak. Um, I give an example. There's a girl that I know right now that I've dealt with off and on for years. I haven't dealt with her for probably like the last 4 or 5 years. But I mean, to this day, she loves me. She's even in a relationship, but she's just like, your words when you speak them to me. She's just like, you know, she's like, they just affect me to the absolute core of who and what I am. She's like, your words make me feel safe. You make me feel just overwhelmed with, you know, nothing but good emotions towards you. Like I mean, just everything, desire, love, adoration, appreciation, respect, just all those things. It's almost like your words is like, you know, it's like the negative way, but flipped around, pushing buttons. You can push buttons in a good way with your words. You utilize your words and you say something that, just, it's like doing a Rubik's Cube or like doing like a puzzle. You do just the right combination and it's just like, the key to basically unlock, a woman's heart, you know what I'm saying? And desire and everything else, I mean, to the point where she's almost in a trance, man. You know what I'm saying? It's like Cyrano was on to something when he was doing what he did, man. That's why he was, even Cyrano was kicking game. He's like, yo, say these things, say this, say that. And bro was saying it. And the girl was like, yo, she was all about it. You know what I'm saying? Then she found out it was Cyrano, but, you know, and she was all about that too. And that's why, the women don't really care, about a lot of things. It's really about your substance, you know what I'm saying, as a man. And part of that is how you use your words. Um, there's so many things you could say to a woman, different contexts, different ways of saying things, different things to say. Like, here's a thing that really helps out a lot. This is just a quick, easy one. One of the things that women like is to feel heard. They really like when they like when they feel like you're listening to them. That makes a huge. It means something because they want to be heard. But when you're someone that listens to her and someone that she's attracted to, when she's heard by someone she's attracted to, it just really draws her in. So if a woman's talking, pay attention to what she's saying. If it's something because you have something you may want to use later, not use but remember later. And if you can repeat those things back to her, then she sees, oh, this person's listening to me. Because then she's like, you're listening to her, you know. She feels good about you listening to her, but also she realizes and appreciates the fact that there's an aspect of her that you're getting to know. Women love when you get to know them too. They just want to be able to feel like they can be themselves. And when you remember something and regurgitate, not really regurgitate, but like use those words like, oh, I remember you told me about, how you used to love going to your grandmother's and, the cornbread was so good. And, because women, just like us too, but women really though, because there's so much about emotions, they'll attach emotion to a certain thing like their grandmother's cornbread. And when you remind them of that, like, oh yeah, just like you, kind of like with your grandmother's cornbread. And then she'll be like, oh my gosh, you remember that? Or if you meet her and there's a certain detail that was present or that you noticed, or even details about when you met her, and then later when you see her, or another time you know remind her of that, and she sees that, man, she'll go crazy about that too. Women are so not like us as men. Men are like, okay, one, two, three. I mean, women are like that, but then they're not like that, So something. This is another thing. Now I always talk about there's a lot of repeating themes, and this is a thing you'll find a lot. But I was saying that because in the case of something like women not being like us, the little things, like it can be the smallest thing that can make a woman fall for you. You could be like, oh, I remember you told me when you were a kid you really liked this candy. And I said, blah, blah. I'm like, wow, crazy, they got them. You get her one or two or three and you give them to her. And then it'll set her off like, oh, she'll just be like, you remember that, and then it's like you give her that one thing and it's already so much emotion and stuff attached to that. But then when it's already a lot of emotion and stuff attached to that, and then it comes from someone that she's attracted to, that being you in this case. It's another thing, man. A woman is like, man, you know, or when you remember something and you tell a woman, yeah, the time when we met, because you had on that blue dress and this and that, or you meet her, see her again, and you're like, oh, this is that same dress you had on, blah blah blah. Or if you meet her and she's wearing something, and then later, months or years later, you're like, oh my gosh, this is a dress you had on when we met. She'll go crazy, like, oh my gosh, you remember that? Yeah, you remember back that far, and just, you know, it's crazy because you'd be like, what? I just remember the dress. To women though, it's like it's everything, man. I mean, it's just anything like that. And when you incorporate that into your words, when you speak with her, you know what I'm saying? You incorporate these things into how you talk with her, man, you get her. There's been so many girls, even through texting, man. Sometimes when I would just be like texting girls I've dealt with, there's this another girl I used to know, I almost said her name, but I caught myself. I would text her. I'll tell you about another one after that, but this girl I used to know, and I met her. I was going through her line at her job. She worked at a Safeway near me. And I was going through the line, and believe it or not, I was with my ex-wife and my daughter. And I wanted to speak to her, but I'm like, man, I'm not going to, pop at a girl right now. But I made it a note. I'm like, when I come back, I'm going to make sure I go through a line and get at her. So anyway, came back another time, saw her, I'm like, bet. Got at her, you know. And it was funny, too, because I was talking some nerdy shit to her. I got her, I was talking about, I know what I told her. I told her that her name was similar to robotic functions. I was like, yeah, I work on robots. And she's like, really? And I said, yeah. I said, you have X, Y, and Z, and then theta, which is rotation. And she's like, really? I'm like, mm-hmm. I'm not going to tell you which one was like her name, but one of those four was like her name. But anyway, she was like, wow, that's cool, And then she was like, just tripping off of the fact that I was talking about something nerdy, but at the same time I was using it and relating it to her name. And she was just like, you're different. And I'm like, I'm me. And then she was like, here, take my number, this and that. I'm like, cool. I mean, it was dope. We had a great time. We had great times. But anyway, at some other point, I'll tell you something else that happened to her with her too that was good. She was tripping, but not related to this. But anyway, I met her in line, and some nights she would text me. I'd just be on the couch chilling at my place, and she'd text me, hey, what you doing? And we start having a conversation. This is before I didn't text a lot with women. Before I used to text women all the time. But nonetheless, though, I would text with her, and she'd be like, your words just, every time, she's like, your words just She's like, you melt me. She's like, every time I'm like, I know. I'm like, that's the whole point. She was like, oh, she was just like, I can't wait. I would text her, and I would say stuff in a text, and I wouldn't be like lying or anything. I would just be speaking to her in a way like, I really enjoyed this, and I thought it was sweet the way you this and this and that. I appreciate it. You know what I'm saying? I mean, the fact that you do these things show me that that you're special, and she would just tweak. Um, Same thing with another girl. This was one that was funny. A chick I met one time on the street. She was walking. I tried to talk to her, and then she acted like she was ignoring me, right? But then I spoke to her again. I was like, hey. And then she stopped, and she was like, I'm so sorry. She's like, I'm so used to not talking to guys and this and this and that. And I just ignore guys when I'm on the street because I'm so used to being approached. And she was banging. And I was like, I could see why, she might do that, or whatever. But I guess in my case, she liked me, you know. So and I had my daughter with me too, which is almost something I never do. I like don't talk to chicks when I got my kids with me. I got one kid. I mean two kids. I got one daughter, one son. But I kind of made it a rule of thumb not to talk to one. But I was like, you know what? There's exceptions. Every once in a while, sometimes you just gotta kind of bend the rules a little bit. But got her number. She was a girl who lived out of town, but she traveled through to Portland a lot. So not much. Nonetheless, we had some good times. We had some really good times. She'd fly and come to a hotel, and then it was on. But anyway, as we kind of started going along, she was pressing me for a relationship, and I was just like, eh. But one of the things that kept her coming back to me, I mean, of course, we had a good time physically, but there would be times where we would be having a conversation, and she'd be trying to say something that she was concerned about as far as her wanting us to go in the direction of a relationship, and then I just start sweet talking her. And then she would do this thing where she would go, you always do that to me, but in a good way. She would be like, she's like, every time I feel like I want to pull away from you, I just can't. It's because I would talk to her in a way that just drew her. I would draw her in with my words. I knew, and I wasn't trying to be negative. I wasn't trying to be manipulative. I just knew that I still wanted her to be around, and I knew that part of her wanted to be around me too. Because if she didn't, she wouldn't have been asking for a relationship. But I knew that a relationship was not what was in the cards for me at that moment. And she knew that too. But I knew I didn't want her to go either, so I had to figure out the best way to kind of, keep her around a little bit longer, or as long as I could, or at least a little bit longer than I, you know, or at least a little bit longer than she probably figured she wanted to be around. And she liked me, like I said, but she just was trying to really press me for a relationship. Um, so I'm like, all right, like, the best thing I can do is just continue to appeal to her emotions, because that's really what she wanted anyway. Um, but yeah, I would just talk to her, and she'd be like, "You just do that to me. You get me every time with that." And then she was just about it, you know. Um, so yeah, man, you know, rambling, but grab what you can out of this. But like I said, I mean, if you're a writer or someone, like a good orator, you know what I'm saying? Parlay that into how you talk with women, because it really makes a difference. As long as you're talking about something that's going to affect her emotionally, and it's cool. I mean, one of my favorite things to do is to try and figure out how much I can, like writing a song almost. I try to figure out how much I can put together to affect her more. Like I want to say something or some things that are just going to just make a woman just I mean, like I said, I want to set her on fire, man, proverbially, not literally. I want to set her on fire inside so she's just overwhelmed, you know what I'm saying? I mean, like, I want to be Cyrano to a girl. And you should want to be too, man, because trust, it helps. I mean, like a lot of times I'll meet women and they'll say to me, "You're a charmer." I'll be like, "Yeah, I am." Because I am, though, you know? I mean, I'm nerdy and stuff. I mean, I'm really like nerdy, but at the same time, though, man, I use my creativity and my desire to, to want to birth, just creative, cool shit. You know what I'm saying? And I utilize that when I talk to women, and they dig it. You know what I'm saying? But I mean, like I said, it ain't just me. It could be anybody. Anybody that utilizes that and how they speak and how they do things, man, it can definitely be something that will pay off, you know, ridiculously huge amounts, if you get good at it. But then it also becomes something that's fun. Like I said, for me, it's just another vestige of me that I can use to kind of write creatively. You know what I'm saying? I just, I mean, of course I'm speaking it, but, sometimes I'll write stuff down or whatever. I get ideas from stuff that I say to women, but I love it, man. So anyway, I guess that's it. But yeah, like I said, man, learn them big words, use them in proper context, because you don't want to be saying stuff and not knowing what you're saying or sounding dumb. You don't want to do that. You sound like old boy on Living Color. The explicities of my ethnicity not making any sense. Don't do that. You know what I'm saying? Learn the words, read. And another thing too that kind of helps that too is if you read and a girl sees that you're, reasonably well read and educated, and then you parlay that kind of stuff into, like, I love to relate nerdy stuff to how a girl feels, and then they're like, really, there's just, they see that and you teach them, but then you're also affecting them emotionally, and then they're just drawn to you more. So, all right, man. Like I always say, be the man, cause you are the man. All right, peace.